right. Today we're digging into some of the biggest and honestly most mysterious structures in all of Japanese history. They're ancient, they're absolutely massive, and for centuries, they've been hiding in plain sight.
So imagine this. You're flying over Japan. You look down and you see these enormous, perfectly formed keyhole shapes carved into the earth. And some of them are bigger than the pyramids of Giza. So what on earth are they? Well, the answer is Kofun. The name itself literally just means ancient tomb. And for a long, long time, these were the final resting places for emperors, chieftains, the powerful elite of ancient Japan. But trust me, they were so much more than just graves. To really understand what makes them so special, we gotta look inside. So let's do it. Let's break down the anatomy of a classic keyhole-shaped kofun. Okay, so the main body, the big mound itself, is called the funkyo. And this isn't just some random pile of dirt. No way. It's a precisely engineered mound, often built up in multiple terraces, kind of like giant steps. This wasn't just for show. It created this monumental profile and formed the core of the whole structure. Now, to protect these huge earthen mounds, the builders added something like an architectural skin. It's a layer called fukiishi, made of these tightly packed river stones. And this wasn't just for looks. It was a brilliant piece of engineering that acted like armor, shielding the tomb from erosion and collapse. Super common in the early and middle Kofun period. One of the most unique parts is this special platform you can see jutting out from the waist of the keyhole shape. That's the tsukuridashi. Think of it as a sacred stage. It was a place for rituals and ceremonies to honor the person buried inside, and it was often decorated with pottery and all sorts of offerings.
Okay, now let's go even deeper. Buried deep inside the funkyu is the shutaibu, the burial area itself. Here, a stone chamber was built to protect the coffin, and the tech they used for preservation, it was incredible for its time. They often used a red paint made from mercury vermilion, which they believed had preservative qualities, and they even engineered these sophisticated drainage channels to keep water out. I mean, this was truly advanced stuff.
So you can already see these weren't just simple burial mounds, right? They were absolute feats of ancient engineering that required immense skill and planning. These kofun weren't just piled high. They were built with just incredible precision. The whole thing required advanced surveying to get that unique keyhole shape exactly right, detailed design plans, and massive-scale land management just to clear and level the ground before they could even start.
The whole process was just a monumental undertaking. It all started with that precise design phase. Then came these enormous earth-moving projects. Only after all that could the mound be built up, layer by careful layer. The burial chamber would be installed deep inside, and then the entire thing would be finished with that fukishi's stone skin and other ritual touches. And the scale of this is just, it's hard to wrap your head around. Building one of the bigger kofun wasn't a project that took months or even a few years. It could take decades to finish, and it required a colossal, coordinated workforce. That alone tells you something really profound about the society that built them. Which brings us right to the big question. Why? Why pour so much time, so much energy, so many resources into building these gigantic tombs? Well, the answer is all about power. Get this. An incredible 4,700 keyhole-shaped kofun have been found across Japan. They're everywhere, from way up north in Iwate all the way down to Kagoshima in the south. The biggest and most impressive ones, though, are concentrated in the Kinki region, which was the heartland of the early Yamato state. This wasn't just some local trend, it was a national phenomenon. So these tombs were really doing double duty. On the one hand, sure, they were a sacred final resting place for a ruler. But just as important, they were a massive political statement, kind of like a permanent billboard, advertising the immense power, wealth, and organizational muscle of the leader who built it. And they were placed strategically. Some of the largest tomb clusters, like the famous Mozu tombs in Osaka, were built right on the ancient coastline. And why there? So they would be the very first thing that foreign envoys from China and Korea would see as their ships approached. The message couldn't be clearer. You are entering the land of a mighty and powerful king. Now, that connection to the outside world is actually a huge part of the Kofun story. Because while that keyhole shape is distinctly Japanese, these tombs definitely did not develop in a vacuum. So yeah, that iconic keyhole form is a totally unique Japanese innovation. But the whole idea of building giant burial mounds for your elite, plus some of the technologies inside them, you can see clear influences from mainland Asia, especially ancient China and the Korean kingdoms.
This whole thing led to this fascinating two-way exchange. So after the giant keyhole tombs start popping up in Japan, a new technology arrives from the Korean kingdom of Baekje, these side-entry stone chambers, which made burials way easier. But then, and this is amazing, a small number of distinctly Japanese-style keyhole tombs were actually built in southern Korea. So it wasn't just Japan borrowing ideas. It was a dynamic two-way conversation, written in stone and earth. It really shows a far more connected ancient world than we often imagine.
So when you look at a Kofun, you're not just looking at a tomb. You're seeing this nexus of incredible engineering, a raw display of political power, and a fascinating story of international connection and cultural exchange in ancient East Asia. And maybe the most tantalizing part of all is this. The largest Kofun were built during a period that historians call Japan's blank century, a time with very few written records. These silent stone giants are some of the only clues we have to what was really happening in this pivotal era. So the final question really is, what other secrets are they still waiting to tell us?